going 15-2 on the year, number 1 seed in the NFC, but they lose in their first playoff game, the divisional round, to the Commanders. It was the Lions' best record in team history, and they've made back-to-back playoffs for the first time since 1995. So it's been an excellent run for Detroit. A lot of questions to be answered, though, now after losing both their star coordinators to head coaching jobs. But what went right, Dalton, for the Lions this year?
I mean, this offense was just unstoppable. I mean, there's just not much else you could say about it. For the most part, outside of, even in the loss to the Commanders, they scored 31 points, even with, 3 or 4 turnovers, and they were still, Jahmyr Gibbs was running all over the place, and St. Brown's feels like St. Brown is open every play, and I think a big development was Jameson Williams finally just playing a whole season with no injuries, no distractions, anything like that. He really emerged as a big-time second target for them, right? I think you have legitimate superstars on offense in those guys in the offensive line, Penei Sewell especially up front, Frank Ragnow at center. I mean, they did everything offensively that we expected them to do, right? And it got them to a 15-2 record, and it really was to no fault of them that they got to where they got to, right? I mean, and the season ended even the way that it did. But no, this team's offensive talent alone makes them a Super Bowl contender. They just need execution in big moments, and obviously the injuries on defense killed it. But I mean, it's a pretty clear cutoff when you look at the success of this team and you go, well, why did they succeed? Because they had arguably the best offense in football.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions were absolutely phenomenal this year on offense. Second highest grade offense in the NFL, second in EPA per play, best receiving grade in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5th highest grade receiver. Jameson Williams, his first 1,000-yard season this year, 650 yards more than his previous career high. David Montgomery led all running backs in receiving grade. Jahmyr Gibbs was 9th in receiving grade. And Sam Laporta, even in a down sophomore season, still the 6th best receiving grade among tight ends in the NFL. 5th best rushing grade in the NFL. 2nd best run blocking grade in the NFL. And the other thing, Dawn, still the 5th best defensive grade despite a ton of injuries on that side of the ball. 6th best coverage grade. Kirby Joseph is the highest grade safety in the NFL. Aiden Hutchinson looked like he was going to run away with Defensive Player of the Year before going down with a season-ending injury in Week 6. He had a 94.9 PFF grade. So even though they had a lot of injuries defensively, I think Aaron Glenn still did overall a really good job just patching it together what they had there.
That's true. And I think that's where it starts is the Hutchinson injury, because through Week 6, the Lions had the highest pass rush grade in football, understandably. Why? And I think in the same breath that we mention a Myles Garrett being added to a team and changing the power structure of the league, that's what happens when you took Hutchinson and the subtraction of him with this injury, right? And once he went out, they became a bottom 8 team in pass rush grade for the rest of the season. I know they added Zadarius Smith, but it's just not the same, right? They didn't have any sort of pass rush in big spots. They gave up 30-plus points in 4 of their last 6 games this year. So it just eventually it caved in. The Hutchinson injury, the lack of pass rush, the injuries at linebacker were just crazy. I mean, they were shuffling through basically Jack Campbell and practice squad guys for a while. I just think the depth of injuries to their front 7 especially, it just eventually was just going to cave. And it was the fear. The minute Hutchinson got hurt, that was the fear is, oh, do they have enough?
Yeah.
And honestly, and they just didn't. And I get it. And it hurts because, again, you have their best regular season in team history. And you lose to a Commanders team that probably isn't as complete as them, right? But when you don't get a pass rush to a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, these things can happen. And that's exactly what happened. And I just think now you have major questions with both coordinators taking head coaching jobs. I mean, and they're 2 really good coordinators, especially Ben Johnson. What does it look like? Can they still be the best offense in football? Is there a different vision on defense now coming in that can maximize the talent of some of these players, young players like a Jack Campbell, like a Terrion Arnold? These are the kids that are going to make the difference in them staying in Super Bowl contention, those young players on defense developing. And then, look, the Hutchinson injury was a bad injury, right? I mean, you get carted off in the air cast and you're done for the year basically on site. Can he come back and play at that level that he was playing? I mean, when he got hurt, he finished this year with a 38% pass rush win rate, which if you're above 20, you're dominating people, and he was at 38.
Yeah,
he was on pace for an all-time great year, and if he was healthy, they might have won the whole thing, and that just set everything back. So I think who knows how different this team is going to look, but they have so much talent that they still should be good next year.
They still should be, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned that the injuries and defense. They gave up 45 points in that divisional round loss to the Commanders. Of their 22 defensive players on the preseason 2-deep depth chart, 10 of them were absent from that game. Almost half of their 2-deep depth chart guys from the preseason were absent in that divisional round game. So just an insane amount of injuries on that defensive side of the ball. Offense, they had the 15th best pass blocking grade, and Jared Goff was 16th in PFF grade, more of like an average play from Jared Goff this past year. In terms of what they have in the offseason, 27th in assets between draft picks, effective cap space, and restructure potential. Notable free agents: Carlton Davis III, Kevin Zeitler, Levi Onwuzurike, Tim Patrick, Marcus Davenport, Ben Johnson to the Bears, offensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Bears. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Jets. They got John Morton as the OC. He was the Broncos passing game coordinator in the last 2 years. Kelvin Shepard is the new DC. He was the Lions linebackers coach in the last 3 years as well. It kind of reminds me a lot, Dalton, of when I know they didn't win it all or make it very far to the playoffs like the Eagles made all the way to the Super Bowl, but it reminds me of when the Eagles lost both Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon to head coaching jobs. It took a couple years for them to kind of reset after that. I think it might take a little bit of time for the Lions to reset, even though they are such a loaded roster overall. I think adding an edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson is critical. Zadarius Smith was a good addition. He's 32 years old. Jack Sawyer in the first round, we've always been mocking it just for the vibes of it, of having an Ohio State edge and a Michigan edge like that.
Well, the thing is, are they going to add an edge or they're going to add the edge?
Or the edge,
well,
right.
This is
Myles
the first
Garrett.
team everybody's going to talk about now.
Yep.
Is the Lions, because you go, they're close to Super Bowl ready. They have the offense to do it. They have a boatload of talent. And again, just the almost Madden franchise level idea of having Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett on the field together, in part because Hutchinson's not making huge money yet, and he's going to probably reset the record books when it comes.
He'll sign one next year.
Yeah. So, or next year, yeah, because he'll be eligible to negotiate that, and eventually a 5th-year option. You have.
No, actually, I think he's eligible to sign one this year.
He might be eligible this year,
Yeah.
but that's still kind of a future thing where you have one more year and then 5th-year option, and you can kind of push that down the line a little bit. You have a window here where it is feasible. And you start thinking about it, and then you have different conversations in the draft. If you were to get if you get Myles Garrett, your first-round pick is going to be gone. Mm-hmm. So then you go, okay, you look at it, the value sense of that, and you go, okay, would I rather have whoever, Jack Sawyer or Mike Green or whoever at 29, 28 now, divisional round still, or you'd rather have Myles Garrett, and you really try to make a push for this thing. I think now, again, this is where it changes the power structure of the league. And if that ever happened, the level of hype right back on Detroit, even after this year, would just be off the charts. I don't know how you block them. I have no idea.
Yeah. Linebacker, they need more help there as well. Jack Campbell was 10th highest rated linebacker this past year, but they have Malcolm Rodriguez and Alex Anzalone. Good linebacker room overall, but could stand to add more to that room. And I think the interior offensive line as well. Do everything you can. Kevin Zeitler, about to be 35 years old, but he was the 3rd highest graded guard in the league this past year. Graham Glasgow, 57.2 grade, his worst since his rookie year. I think the other guard spot can be improved. And then Frank Ragnow, still one of the best centers in the NFL, but he has battled some injuries over the last few years as well. So help out the interior offensive line a little bit. Maybe adding a new starting caliber guard could be the move, and maybe adding a guy like Myles Garrett could be the move for the Detroit Lions as well. We'll see.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can come one today.